In the previous video, we have completed the plant tissues part. So in this video, we are starting with the animal tissues. So the very first one which we are going to read is the epithelial tissue. So it is like a protection unit and it forms the outermost covering of the body and the internal organs. And the characteristics of these cells are they are closely packed and they prevent the entry of germs and they reduce the water loss and it aids in absorption, secretion, and the movements of substances. Right? So, in this, we have 5 types of epithelial cells, that is, squamous epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, cuboidal or columnar glandular epithelium, ciliated columnar epithelium, and columnar epithelium. First, speaking of squamous, so its main function is exchange. So it is a single layer of thin flat cells, and the blood vessels, lungs, and alveoli is the areas where you can see the squamous epithelium. And S, it is single and it will exchange the gases. So it will swap the gases. It is how you can remember this. And next, moving to the stratified squamous epithelium, whose primary function is protection. So it has many layers and it is tightly packed and is found in skin, mouth, and esophagus. So your S in the sense stories, and so it has many layers. You can remember like this. So here when you see, it is for protection and therefore it has many layers, and here it is as an outer lining or for exchange purposes, and therefore it is of a single layer. You can remember like that as well. Now moving to the cuboidal or the columnar glandular epithelium, whose primary function is secretion. So it is in the shape of cuboid or column, and it is for the producing and releasing of substances, which is the glands. So that's what glands do, they release or secrete things. So it is found in salivary glands, sweat glands, and in the stomach lining. So its primary function is secretion. You can remember it as in the cube shape, and glands, which is aids in secretion. So next, ciliated columnar. So ciliated in the sense, C, you can take it as a comb. So it has specialized receptor cells with hair-like cilia. So you can remember comb and they have hair-like cilia on top. Its primary function is sensory part, and it is in nostrils, taste buds, inner ear, and all these places. And next, the final one is a columnar, whose primary function is absorption, and single layer of tall pillar-like cells, often with hair-like microvilli, and it is found in the lining of small intestine. So in small intestine, we can see the absorption will happen. So in the same way, here it is found in the small intestine. So this is all we can find in the epithelial cells. So next, moving to the connective tissue. So connective tissues will be of two things. So there will be a matrix in both of these things, and one matrix will be watery and soft, while the other one will be hard, solid, and rigid. So the one which is soft and watery is what will form the blood, and the one which is hard will form the bone. So both these aid in connection. So these both together will form as the connective tissue. So first, speaking of blood. So in blood, we basically have 4 components in it, which is what you need to learn in your class as per present, even though there are much more greater classifications in it, but as of now, these 4 are enough. That is RBC, platelets, white blood cells, and plasma. So RBC, red blood cell, which is rich in hemoglobin, which is an iron-rich protein, and it is replaced for every 4 months, and it is used in the transport purposes, and it will lack the nucleus. So it is used in the transport of oxygen. So this will lack the nucleus because it can accommodate more amount of oxygen so that it can transport. Next is the platelets. These are the tiny cell fragments, and it is used in clotting. So when you have dengue or some infections, viral infections, the platelet count will reduce. So you can remember this like that. It is used in the purpose of clotting. Next is the white blood cells. They are colorless and they fight infections, and they act as the defense mechanism of our body. And next is the plasma, which is yellowish liquid part, and it is also used in transport, and it will contain RBCs, WBCs, platelets, and all the waste and nutrients which need to be transported. So these are all the components of blood. Next, coming to the bones part. So it is a rigid matrix containing calcium and phosphorus, and it aids in strength and rigidity. Next is the cartilage, which is soft jelly matrix. It aids in the flexibility and cushioning purposes. Next, the tendons, which connect the muscles to bones, and the ligament will connect the bones to bones. So it will prevent in the excessive movement as well. So here you can remember that this is tendon which will connect muscles to bones, while ligament will connect the bones to bone. Next, moving to the next part, that is the movements. So basically we have two kinds of movements, that is the voluntary movement and the involuntary movement. Voluntary movement is like you will be doing it with your conscious control, like running and writing. You can stop writing whenever you want to write, and you can start to write whenever you want to write. But involuntary movement is you'll not have any conscious control on it, like the heartbeat and the food movement in the food pipe, how the food goes, and all those things are not in our control. So they happen involuntarily. So for this, you can understand with the help of muscle tissue. So in muscle tissue, we have three kinds of muscles, which is skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. So skeletal muscle is long cylindrical muscle fibers. They have multi-nuclei, and they're straighted in the sense you will see the visible light and dark bands on these muscles. Smooth muscles are spindle shaped cells. They have single nucleus, and there will be no light or dark bands on this. Cardiac muscle is cylindrical and branched, and it is formed of single nucleus. It will have faint striations. So here you can see the skeletal muscles which are attached to the skeleton, and the smooth muscles you can find in the stomach, intestines, blood vessels, and the cardiac one is in the heart. And as we've already learned about the movements, so here in the skeletal you will have voluntary, in the smooth muscles you have involuntary, and the cardiac will also be involuntary. And here the reactions will be fast in the skeletal muscles. Here in the smooth muscles it will be slow, but it will be continuous. And the cardiac muscles will be rhythmic. The heartbeat, you can see that it is rhythmic. So this is voluntary and these both are involuntary. It is important to remember. And it is multinucleated, while these are single nucleations, and you have to remember about the striations as well. Next, moving to the nervous tissue. So nervous tissue will contain the neurons, and this is how a neuron will typically look like. And you will be having a cell body, and inside that you will be having this nucleus and axon, and the axon terminals or the nerve endings, and these things are the dendrites. So this is how the nerve cell looks like. And how does this nervous tissue actually function? So first it will start with the stimulus. Suppose you have touched a hot object, so there comes a stimulus, and it will reach to the neuron and then to the brain, and the brain will send the response to the muscle. Response will be given, and you will be able to remove your hand as quick as possible. So this is how the reflex reactions will work, and normal reactions will also work in the same way in the nervous tissue. We'll be having both control and coordination in order to function. So speaking about the different parts of this neuron, that is the dendrites, which receives the signal from other neurons. Cell body will have the nucleus, and it acts as CEO or the control room of the neuron. Axon will carry the messages, and the axon terminal will transmit these messages to the other cells or to the muscles. So next, moving on to the musculoskeletal system. It contains bones, muscles, joints, cartilage, tendons, and ligaments, as we already studied all of these in previously. So functions is you will be able to stand upright and move, maintain posture, and protect the delicate organs, which is the functions of the musculoskeletal system. In an adult human skeleton, you will find that about 12 to 15% of the body weight is composed of these musculoskeletal systems, like the bones and all these things. So adult human skeleton will be making up about 12 to 15% of the body weight, but it will vary according to the age, gender, and all the activities with which the person is doing. Next, moving to the joints. So we basically have four kinds of joints which you have to remember in your class. That is ball and socket joint, hinge joint, pivot joint, and fixed joints, which you will learn. And this is also called the shoulder joint as well. And the hinge joint is there, you will find in your elbow. And here the pivot joint is why you are able to move your head. And these are the fixed joints which are present in your skull, which you cannot move. Next, moving to the skeletal system. So skeletal system will contain the skull, the vertebral column, and rib cage. So the vertebral column will have vertebrae, which forms a spine. The rib cage will have 12 pairs of ribs, and in the front they are connected with the sternum, breastbone, while in the back it is connected to the spine. So this is all you know about in the skeletal system. So with this, we have completed the overall revision, quick revision of tissues in action. We already completed the plants in the previous video, and in this video, we have completed the animal tissues.